Hello everyone and welcome to the session on Beware of Scams. Let's first discuss what a scam is. A scam is really a dishonest plan for making money by taking advantage of someone else's situation. Scams can involve tricking others. How do we fight against scams? UNHCR has a zero tolerance policy to all types of scams and exploitation. Remember that all UNHCR services are free. There is no payment for any service or faster service from UNHCR. Paying and receiving money to receive UNHCR services is wrong. This includes all application forms and services provided by UNHCR and its partners, as it's free of charge. You cannot pay for registration or resettlement or any other process to move faster in UNHCR. Do not trust anyone or any organization that asks you to pay for any UNHCR or partner services. Any UNHCR services offered to you in exchange for money are always scams. Fraud is a crime under Malaysian law. You can approach the nearest police station to you and report on this. Take all the evidence that may be available to you while reporting the fraudulent incident. If you are contacted by someone whom you're not sure of is UNHCR, always verify whether that person is from UNHCR. If you wish to report a scam by another refugee or an individual, your first point of contact should be the police. Please go to the police to report on scams. You may also report to Riot in UNHCR Malaysia through the email address provided here on the screen, which is mlslufrd@unhcr.org, or you can also use the Riot's online complaints form available on our Refugee Malaysia website at www.refugeemalaysia.org/contact. If any money or any other form of favor is requested from you, you should report it immediately to the nearest police station immediately and to UNHCR. Remember that scams are a crime under Malaysian law, which is why you should approach the nearest police station to report a scam. Again, remember to take all the evidence with you while reporting the scam, including, for instance, the scammer's phone number, bank account details, and screenshots of the voice or text messages from the scammer. Do remember that reporting on scams will not delay or affect your case in any way. Also, do remember that UNHCR respects your confidentiality. This means that all information sent to Riot and to UNHCR, including your identity, will not be shared with anyone else without your permission. For more information on scams and how to beware of them, you can find them on the Refugee Malaysia website. If you scan the QR code on the screen right now, you will see the Beware of Scam page and also another QR code to access the Beware of Scam FAQ page with details on how to beware of different types of scams that are common in our refugee environment. You may also be able to access our scam alert posters on the Refugee Malaysia website. I'd like you to direct your attention to the first poster, which talks about which warns individuals to beware of community leaders who claim to have special links to UNHCR and ask refugees for money to speed up their RSD processes or their resettlement processes to various countries, including Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom. Remember that if anyone asks you for money, it is a scam because all UNHCR services are free and UNHCR will never ask you for money in exchange for any of its services. If you are contacted by individuals claiming to be able to provide UNHCR services in exchange for money, report this again to the police and to UNHCR. Another poster available on our Refugee Malaysia website is individuals who pretend to be UNHCR staff, and you should be aware of them, and they contact refugees and asylum seekers via chat or voice messages asking for personal details and money in exchange for UNHCR services. Remember that this is a scam. All UNHCR services are free because UNHCR will never ask you for money in exchange for any of its services. If you are contacted by individuals claiming to be able to provide UNHCR services for a fee, report this to the police and to UNHCR. And please share these posters with your contacts as widely as possible. Another scam we came across last year was a scam where an individual who claimed to be a pastor was offering an appointment with UNHCR for registration at a cost of 3,000 ringgit yearly with a renewal for the card of 1,500 ringgit. This is a scam because all UNHCR services are free, and UNHCR will never ask you for money in exchange for any of its services. If you're contacted by individuals, including people in positions of power like pastors, community leaders, UNHCR staff, claiming to be able to provide UNHCR services in exchange for money, report this to the police immediately and to UNHCR. There was also another scam that was quite prevalent in 2023, where a woman who claimed to work for the UNHCR's registration and resettlement team was contacting refugees via WhatsApp voice messages in Malay and asking for 300 to 500 ringgit to be transferred to her bank account in exchange for UNHCR documents, appointments, and even interviews for registration and resettlement. We have made it clear that this is a scam because all UNHCR services are free, and UNHCR staff will never ask you to transfer money to them or to any particular bank account number. A few refugees were scammed by this lady, and therefore we are trying to create more awareness about her. So please be aware if you're contacted by individuals like her claiming to be able to provide UNHCR services in exchange for money, to report the same scam to the police. Let's move on to some common questions. How do I know if I'm being scammed? Sometimes fraudsters may pretend to represent UNHCR to gain your trust, like the lady I spoke about earlier. They may show you information to persuade you that they are connected to UNHCR. In that particular scam by that lady contacting refugees, she was sharing with them photos of the UNHCR premises, inside the UNHCR premises, to claim that she worked for UNHCR. But in fact, these photos were just generic photos available on the internet. People who tell you such lies are seeking to take advantage of your situation. Avoid them and do not believe them. Those persons are only after your money. Be alert and don't get cheated. And always remember that all UNHCR services and assistance by UNHCR or its partners are always free of charge. If anyone asks you for money or a favor for UNHCR process, remember that it is a scam. Next, how can I avoid being scammed? Again, remember that all services from UNHCR are free of charge. Do not trust anyone or any organization asking you to pay money for any UNHCR service. Do not believe anyone who asks you for money or any other favor in exchange for UNHCR services. And if that happens, report it to UNHCR immediately. Do not share your personal data with them or any documents with them, including your passport, your identity documents, your certificates, or any documents you receive from UNHCR with anyone except UNHCR and its partners. You can also get scammed, for instance, when you send letters to UNHCR asking someone else to send them for you on your behalf. This means that somebody else will have access to your personal information. For instance, if you have shared information with someone else to help you to send a letter to UNHCR talking about your problems in Malaysia, that person already will have information about your personal circumstances. That person will have information about your where you live, your documentation, what problems maybe you or your wife or your children have, and they can use that to take advantage of you. Or if that information gets into somebody else's hands, it can also be exploited and you can also fall victim to a scam. Someone else may contact you stating, hey, I know you've written to UNHCR on, for instance, 3rd of March 2023, seeking assistance because your mother is ill. And you might believe them thinking that maybe UNHCR read my letter, maybe this is really UNHCR. But in fact, it is a scammer. So always remember, do not share your personal information with anyone else except for UNHCR. And make sure that the information that you share is always kept confidential and that UNHCR will never ask you for money for any of its services. What happens if I am the one who commits scams or fraud? Remember that giving false information to UNHCR is fraud and scamming others is a criminal act. If you are involved in scams, you may face the following consequences. You may not be eligible for protection assistance or long-term solutions, including cash support or resettlement. Any allegations of scams or fraud against you will be recorded in your file. Your case will be significantly delayed if the scam and fraud is investigated, and it will be put on hold during this time. Any history of scams and fraud on your file will be shared with the resettlement countries. If it is suspected that you have committed such crimes, you could be reported to the relevant authorities, including the police, for action because, as I said, scamming people is a criminal act. And giving false information to UNHCR is fraud. Next question. How can I report a scam whom I think is committed by UNHCR staff or one of its partners? If you wish to report scams committed by UNHCR staff or one of its partners, please report it immediately to the Inspector General's Office, or the IGO, based in UNHCR's headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, for an independent investigation. This means that the investigation of UNHCR staff in Malaysia for suspected scams will not be carried out in Malaysia because of the reason of independence. We would like someone else to conduct that investigation. Therefore, that investigation is conducted by UNHCR in Switzerland. When reporting fraud, it is very important to provide as much information as possible regarding the incident. This includes details about who is suspected to have committed the fraud or scam, when and where the alleged incident took place, how the potential scam was identified, and what type of scam might it be. Any supporting evidence that you have or information regarding witnesses or other details regarding the incident should also be included. Remember that UNHCR takes all complaints seriously and follows up on each case individually. Please note that all communication with UNHCR is always confidential. Filing a complaint against a UNHCR staff or a partner will not in any way impact your case with UNHCR. In your complaint, please provide all the facts and evidence that is known to you. If you provide your contact details, we will follow up with you on your complaint. These are the details of the IGO's office. They have an online complaints form, which is in the URL you can see below, or you can even email them at inspector@unhcr.org. I would also like to share with you the recently released 5 anti-fraud videos that UNHCR Malaysia has worked on, where we have seen common in the refugee environment in Malaysia and elsewhere. The first is scammers sending voice notes via mobile apps. This is the example of the lady I mentioned earlier who was scamming many refugees last year, stating that she worked for UNHCR and she can provide accelerated or fast-track registration and resettlement, even documentation, for a fee. She had been sending voice messages to refugees, and a few of them had been scammed and had even paid her money, expecting to be resettled. In the end, nothing happened. Please have a look at this video or scan here to view the video on your own. The next one is scammers chatting via mobile apps requesting personal information from refugees, particularly women, trying to find out what time they leave their house, whether they have husbands, and so on. This is unnecessary information, and you shouldn't be sharing them with anyone. The person claimed to work for UNHCR, but obviously did not, and he is indeed a scammer. You can scan the QR code here to view this video. The next one relates to scammers setting up fraudulent UNHCR websites and apps, claiming to represent UNHCR. In this particular video, the scammer even wore a UNHCR vest superimposed on himself, pretending to be a UNHCR staff. In the website, the bogus website he set up, it made it look real. He made it look real by putting a UNHCR logo on it and asking individuals for personal information about themselves for a fee, stating that he could provide support in resettlement and registration. Please scan the QR code here for more information on this video. And then the fourth video involves community leaders claiming to have special ties with UNHCR. These are actual cases that happened in Malaysia where community leaders pretended to have special links to UNHCR and promised resettlement and registration services fast-tracked in UNHCR for a fee. Sadly, some refugees had believed them and paid money, and they were scammed. So please have a look at this video at the link shared on the screen. Finally, we also have incidences of scammers impersonating UNHCR staff, wearing even UNHCR lanyards, having a fake UNHCR ID tag, UNHCR staff ID tag and claiming to work for UNHCR, and they hang out usually outside the UNHCR office, and they tell refugees who are waiting in line for a long time under the hot sun, stating, I can help you, I work for UNHCR. If you want to get registered and go in quickly, just pay me this amount of money and I'll get you in quickly. Again, unfortunately, a few refugees have fallen for these scams. More recently, even last week, we received a report of another refugee who fell prey to one of these scams. These scammers who pretended to be a UNHCR staff and said that he worked for UNHCR, and even went to the refugee's home carrying a laptop, stating that I can help you because I am one of the UNHCR staff and I can help you to get your appointment quickly. Sadly, that refugee paid a lot of money to him, but in the end, he wasn't contactable after that. And the refugee lost a lot of money because of this. So don't fall prey to such scams of scammers impersonating to be UNHCR staff and asking you for money to process your cases quickly. I would also finally like to share with you some scam notices available on our Refugee Malaysia website that we published last year, and we will continue to publish this year. The first is scammers, is the woman claiming to work for UNHCR, the one I told you about earlier. The second is scams related to community leaders. And then there's a scam on Facebook. There are many scams on Facebook, in fact, related to registration and resettlement with UNHCR. There was a particular scammer going by these names shared here, who said that he could help with processing of registration and resettlement for a fee. There was also the Rohingya YouTuber scam that still continues, is quite active even today. So please have a look at that particular scam and beware of it. And finally, another scam where a man named Devdas or Devdas Anjan had claimed that he can resettle refugees to the US quickly for a fee. So please have a look at these scam notices and share them widely with the refugee community so that they are aware of what scams are happening and they can protect themselves against getting cheated. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will take questions now.